I have given live stream, sir.
Oh,
Start introducing. Good afternoon. Welcome to another exciting session of Creative Weekend Talk of episode 135. I am Supriya Nayaka, host for the session. Whether you are here in person or join through our YouTube live stream, we are happy to have you all with us today. Creative is not just a group, it's a vibrant community of individuals driven by a passion for learning. Our platform is all about creating opportunities for knowledge seekers where curiosity is celebrated and learning has no limits. We are committed to inspire the next generation of thinkers and creators. The heart of creative are our esteemed expert bringing their wealth of experience and insights to our discussion. Every Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m. we come together to explore topics that challenges inspire and spark new idea. Our talks provide a space for meaningful dialogue and exchange, breaking down barriers and fostering deeper understanding. And don't forget our interactive session at the end. You can directly engage with our speaker, ask question and share your thoughts. Okay. Today, we are very privileged to have with us an remarkable individual who is at the forefront of space exploration and astrobiology. Our esteemed speaker, Mr. Mohana Sai, also known as Amar, is an analog astronaut currently pursuing a master's degree in astrobiology and space science. He is one of the pioneering students of the astrobiology and space science batch at the Center of Excellence in Astrobiology, MT University, Mumbai. His dedication to the field of space science and space science is evident in his pursuit, and his insight promise to ignite our imagination and broaden our understanding of the universe. Today, Mr. Mohana Sai will be shedding light on the captivating world of analog astronaut mission, from stimulated space environment to the challenges and opportunities of living and working in space-like condition. His expertise will undoubtedly leave us inspired and enlightened. Without delay, let us warmly welcome Mr. Mohana Sai for today's session. Over to you, Mohan Sai.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Supriya Garu, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining from different platforms, YouTube, directly from the Zoom meeting, and from different spaces. Uh, Again, Creative, it's a wonderful platform to initiate such things on a weekly basis, bringing up unique projects together and providing interactive sessions. Thank you, Creative. So myself, Mohan Sai, I'm an analog astronaut and also currently pursuing my master's in astrobiology and space science from Amity University, Mumbai. So today's topic is analog astronaut mission. So we will be, in today's talk, we'll be briefly talking about what exactly these analog astronaut missions are. How are these missions helpful to us in terms of space missions and space exploration, especially with a country which is aiming for most of the manned missions in the future, and what exactly these missions looks like, how a candidate can be eligible to these missions, can be selected to these missions. If a candidate is getting selected, what he or she needs to be done, what kind of physical attitude, scientific attitude, conductingness needs to possess all the time, and what can be done after the missions. All these things we'll briefly see. And as Supriya Garu shared, that it's an interactive session. So even though we don't have a parallel interaction session, but make sure you're having questions, writing it, noting it down, brainstorming, so that at the end, feel free to ask, share a question with each other. Yeah. So let's just quickly start the presentation. Supriya Garu, I can start it, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Supriya, can you please
Yes,
confirm me
second
slide?
slide.
Cool. Thank you. So this is this talk is based on my previous mission participation, which happened during 13th August to 23 August in Krakow, Poland, which is in Europe. So our my expedition, my mission scientific name was CRA Luna, which means in French the full moon, because the mission was mimicking the lunar condition. So the mission of name of the mission also goes as analog astronaut lunar based mission. And you can see the mission patch. This is the mission logo where you see all the countries participated in this mission. So one candidate from one country will be taking part in this mission in different roles and capacities. So what are those roles, how selection can happen, those things we'll be seeing further. But before that, let's just quickly start what exactly these analog astronaut missions are. What can be this? How will this be helpful? So, in a simple word, analog means mimicking. Okay, that's the dictionary term. That's a simple term. So, analog astronaut missions are astronaut missions which gives the full hands-on experience of how an astronaut life is going to be, whether in ISS, International Space Station, or whether in short-term duration space missions or long-term duration space missions, with respect to physical changes, psychological changes, physiological changes, social challenges throughout the mission we face. So all these conditions we get to study in these missions. So it's like a mock test or mock platform for any candidate who is willing to be an astronaut. Before going into real missions, they go through these missions so that they can understand the conditions, all the kind of conditions of a real mission. So it's like a practice field. You can and what all practice we can do in this mission, so we can test our technology. Let's say a candidate who is from engineering background wanted to work on robotics, wanted to work on advanced rovers, landers, so they can bring their technology, they can bring their equipments, which with respect to the space exploration, and test in this platform. Why? Because this platform mimicking the conditions depending upon the mission. It can be lunar based mission, it can be Mars based mission, it can be underwater missions. So again, if we see also types of analog missions will be there depending upon the what kind of environment it is mimicking. So as you see, some certain missions will be underwater, which creates the mimicking of pressure, especially pressure factor. And then desert simulations, mostly it mimics the uh, dry and arid conditions, extreme temperatures, all these conditions. Arctic and Antarctic, again, extreme environments, cold terrains, livable life and everything. And as I said, these analog missions also provide it's a best platform because they isolate you from regular life, because space missions are sort of completely isolation from the humanity, from the planet. You also need to go through that phase of isolation. Okay, how isolation treats you or how you can take it isolation. Because imagine suddenly you are being isolated for x number of days, let's say, depending upon the mission, 1 week, 10 days, 20 days, sometimes months. So how exactly you're going to conduct yourself? Let's put the scientific objective aside, but as you as we all as a humans, how are we taking the isolation factor and how are we taking the confinement factor? Confinement is something you're put to one particular place, like you can't go out, you can't like you don't have mobility, so you put in one, let's say, one room for x number of days. So how are you able to conduct yourself? So that's why these are called analog astronaut missions called isolation and confinement studies. While while these things are happening, also these missions provide us best platforms to understand also how medically we are performing and how our health condition is day by day fluctuating. So if I have to sum up analog astronaut missions, these are the missions which mimics the long-term and short-term space duration, which gives the platform to test our equipment, see the changes of physiological and psychological conditions, and how isolation and confinement treats us, or how we have to conduct accordingly. And then health monitoring, because one of the important factor, health, how we are able to, or how our body metabolism is reacting and responding with respect to the isolation. So these studies also happens. So briefly, these are analog astronaut missions. Next slide. Okay, so my previous mission, my first mission, it happened with a company, private company in Poland called AATC, which is Analog Astronaut Training Center. So it's a private company. It's their major work based on human spaceflight program. So when we say human spaceflight, in a simple words, in a flight which is traveling to space, human is the subject. So that simple it is. We sometimes we send payloads, sometimes we just send satellites, but the missions which we only concentrate on sending humans is called human spaceflight missions. So this company majorly studies on human spaceflight studies. So how isolation and confinement, treating the humans' behavior, health, and everything. So this company provides, and it has been set up by two former European space agency scientists, an engineer and a scientist from ESA, European Space Agency. They started this since 2016. And 2018 onwards, they have also started the habitats. Habitats are the locations where we call the isolation chamber. So the chamber we call habitat because it mimics the conditions. Let's say temperature, light control, temperature control, airflow control. Sometimes lunar regulate or Mars-based soil will be mimicking. So all these conditions will be in a artificially prepared habitat. Okay. One important thing we all have to remember here are analog astronaut missions are missions which happens on the Earth itself. Okay. So it's like you test on Earth, and then accordingly you have a data of what can be the results if we actually do real missions, and that's how you operate. So these missions help us to understand the dynamics of space missions. So that's briefly about the company. And this slide generally talks about currently where all such missions are happening. If you see, like this is a map where most of the habitats, like each habitat, High C, SAM, MDRS, F Mars, Habitat, Mars, D Mars, Mars Camp, Lunaris, AATC. These are all the sites. And if you also see globally, like on a world map scale, these are also very extreme environments. Some habitats are located in Arctic conditions. Some habitats are located on a volcano. I don't know how many here know about types of volcanoes, but there is a kind of volcano which is shield volcanoes, and on Earth, most of the shield volcanoes are present in a place in Hawaii, and the volcano name is Mauna Loa. So it's sort of that environment is sort of mimicking the same condition of the Mars, because Mars also have such volcanoes. So there is also a site with the name of HISES, which helps the conditions of lunar and Mars-based space missions by mimicking the volcanism environment. So such way, different habitats on a global map has been set up. This is the map, and yeah. So how can anyone take part into these missions? Okay, what is generally the selection process and eligibility? I am not saying this is the standard procedure, but generally these things they cover in any kind of mission onboarding process. Okay, and remember, any mission onboarding process will not be a single step process. It will be a multiple steps process, and it will be a long, it will be a time taking process. So any candidate here who is willing to be part of future analog missions, analog studies, really need to be very patient in terms of your application, because there is a imagine you are representing your own country. There is there they need to pick up a candidate, one candidate from your country who is going to represent in a mission. So that means there is a lot of back end work happen. So we all have to be really patient regarding the selection process. So it all starts with basic first step of sending your CV and a letter. In the letter, basically talks about why you want to be part of mission. So basically, they ask us to write an essay, why you want to be part of this mission or why you want to be part of such missions. And then depending upon that, they select to the further step where your speaking skills, especially English speaking skills, because it's going to be an international platform, many cultural and diversity happen. So that's why they make sure your English speaking skills are good, if not great. So there will be English speaking skills test, and then there will be also a leadership based test. So where exactly you are in terms of your leadership skills. And then also, and once you are okay with this step, and then you are good to fit to go, there will be certain psychological tests, social skills, cognitive based skills test will be there, where your mental stability will be tested through different parameters, and I would say different surveys they take, and then they see you where exactly you are in terms of mental stability. And then once everything happens, then they also do a face-to-face video when everything is good. In between, we also need to show our medical documents that we are medically fit, nothing in terms of surgical information or in terms of any health disorders, respiratory problems. We have to be really honest, and we have to be really open in terms of health, because these, and though these missions happens on the earth, but though these missions actually give that extreme vulnerable situation. So that's why we really have to be honest with our health and things while the process happens. And another important step is any candidate. I mean, see, all you need to have is one bachelor degree minimum. I would say if you have a bachelor degree, whether BTech or BSc, anything, you will at least able to utilize the platform for the research purpose. You can still be part of the mission even though you haven't completed your undergraduation. But I would suggest personally, if you have at least completed your bachelor's, it will be meaningful, because it also comes with little cost expenses, or it also comes with your ability and skills of research, experimentation, understanding, interpretation of the data. So there are certain factors which we can only be able to perform if minimum if we are able to complete a undergraduation. So it's better to apply at least with a bachelor's degree. If you are having, if you are in the middle of masters, or if you have completed masters, anyone who is above, I think they are pretty much good. All you need to have is you need to also have a unique your own scientific goal when you are going to such missions. What in my case, what are the scientific goals when I was part of mission and everything? I'll share in the further slides. But when I say you need to have scientific goals, uh, see, any mission, two things can happen. One, being part of mission routine is one thing of one side of the coin. Going with the routine of the mission, schedule of the mission, and everything. Two, your own goals, what you wanted to perform during the mission. It can be engineering based goals, it can be psychological based studies, it can be physiological based studies, it can be architectural based studies. Many people these days, lunar architecture, mast based architecture studies has been coming up into forward. So how you are able to bring your domain, your own expertise into a research goal, that's when your mission fulfillment can happen. That's it also helps for us to grow in such platforms scientifically. So these are the things we need to be careful while any selection process and eligibility happens. Now we see, okay, so this is how it happened. Let's say you got selected, and your eligibility and everything done. So what happens next? So once you're done, there is a phase called pre-mission. Okay, so which means what we say pre-flight, pre-mission, before the mission. So before the mission, though we are selected, even though you are selected, that doesn't mean you will not have anything, but you will still go through certain psychological tests until the mission starts. These psychological tests are actually followed from certain global standards, which NASA, ESA, JAXA, Roscosmos, any of the space industry so far has been into human space flight programs. It's a standard operating procedure in terms of psychological tests. So, majorly these three things, what you see on the screen: American Psychiatric Association, World Health Organization Disability Assessment Schedule, Personality Inventory of Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So there is a particular methodology of testing our psychological limits and capabilities. So this will happen on a interval based. And again, you all have to remember, this is not a standard process. It varies mission to mission, and it also depends upon the objective of the organizing mission organizers. But I'm saying generally this can be the procedure. Okay, this will be the procedure. And along with the psychological test, some missions, what they do is 1 month before onwards, let's say from today onwards, in 1 month, you're going into isolation. Certain missions, what they do is they share a pre 30 days diet plan and pre 30 days workout plan with you, so that especially to overcome the problem of, let's say, we from India suddenly go into isolation in an area like Arctic or Antarctic regions, and then we may not suddenly get habituated to the local atmosphere or isolation chamber. So that's why what they're trying to do is, when they give this 30 days before diet plan and workout plan, your body and your gut slightly will be tuned into according to the mission. So it helps actually. Otherwise, most of the cases, what happens is you go to the mission, suddenly new plan, new diet. Your body doesn't get much time to adjust to the atmosphere, and then you may fall different health problems, sickness, and everything. So that's why certain missions, what they try to do is they share 1 month before only the diet plan. Now you may ask, will the same items will be available in our country or not, according to the given diet. So most of the cases, what happens is we may not get the same items, but we, as a candidate, we have to make sure at least the nutritional inputs of the diet and the calorie intake at least being met during our following, irrespective of whether, see, ultimate thing is whether it's oats or whether it's rice or whether it's let's say Indian based difference idli dosha, it ends with carbohydrates only. So that way we have to nutritionally also think, even though we are not we don't get same items as the diet has been shared with us. And same with workout also. When I say workout, it means, so they give certain types of workout which concentrate on a daily basis, which concentrates on each of the body part. So that specific they share the data in terms of physical workout. So generally, briefly, this is how generally pre-mission will be there in the pre-mission phase: psychological tests, diet, and sports activities. Because we are going to be in isolation for X number of days or certain number of hours, our cardiovascular system to be needs to be really active, because we don't get to when I say isolation, it is complete isolation. We don't get to talk with the outside world. I'll get into more details, but yeah, it will be like a complete isolation. No sunlight, there'll be no windows, external air, external light. You always will be under the blue light or the white light, depending upon the mission objective. So it's important for us to sort of slowly adjust to the atmosphere. So briefly, this is how pre-mission will be there. Let's just see how mission actually looks like. Okay, so now we are done with selection, and then we are also done with pre-mission. In my case, how my mission was, how my day looks like while I'm in the mission, we'll quickly see. So the moment we enter into the isolation chamber, isolation habitat, all our clocks will be reset, whether the laptop, watches, phones, even they provide, because they have to track our sleep and certain body parameters, they all give specific watches to every candidate so that the data will be monitored and recorded. So all the clocks will be reset to 0000, which means basically it's the starting time. And we don't say what do you call AM or PM or Monday, Tuesday. We just call mission day one, mission day two. And when it comes to time, we don't say morning, afternoon, or AM or PM. We just say mission time. So let's say in a day, we know on Earth, in a day, 24 hours will be there. So we just say mission day one, 14 hours. Mission day three, 6 hours. So that means from the time our day started, it is 6 hours now. So that's how we have to brainstorm. We have to think, and we have to act accordingly. And yeah, again, days also will be calculated: day one, day zero, day three, day four, day 10. So that's how it will be there. In my case, in my previous mission, our habitat, the physical space was around 55 meters square, and we were 6 crew members. Imagine in a area of 55 meter square, 6 crew members from 6 different nations and from 6 different expertise and backgrounds, living in isolation for 7 nights and 8 days, almost completely restricting the contact from outside world, uh, and then put into a schedule. So that's how generally it will be. And in terms of sleeping and working, it will be every day morning we will get up a wake up siren. And you all have to remember, I mean, you all have to know that any mission, there will be also a, just like real mission, there will be a MCC, which means Mission Control Center. So all the habitats, all the isolation chambers will be 24 by 7 watched and analyzed, monitored by a team. There will be somewhere operating on the earth, not necessarily near to the isolation area or anywhere. Sometimes MCC can be in different country also. So they try to always engage with us, monitor, work with us, and such things happens. So 0000 is like we wake up, and then until 16 hours we work, and then again 16th hour to 24 hour we sleep. So it's like 16 hours of work and 8 hours of sleep. That's how our day will be when we are in the isolation out of 24 hours. Now we'll see how schedule will be, analog astronaut schedule, depending upon the role. So as I said, in my case, there were 6 crew members, and every mission has different roles. I mean, every candidate will be given according to their own choice or according to their own expertise. The roles will be given out. So I'm quickly saying these roles. So CDR, when it means CDR, it's commander, communications officer, biologist officer, medical officer, engineer, data officer. So depending upon the different expertise and roles, and also depending upon the habitat requirements. Like if we see in real world, why many astronauts goes into ISS. Basic reason is to maintain the ISS, to monitor, to maintain, to do repairs, to make sure more research is happening. Similarly, every candidate who goes into these analog astronaut missions also will be certain roles and responsibilities other than your own goals, which you need to take care of the habitat also. Because literally, the habitat is in your hands. You need to take care of the habitat. You need to run the habitat basically. So that's why we all will be given roles. So even if you see, I've kept a brief schedule on this slide where uh, we wake up and then immediately our morning test will be there. And what are these tests? When I say experiment, what are these experiments? I'll further share in the further slides. But yeah, I just wanted to you all to quickly look. This is our schedule will be there. So 16 hours of work and then 8 hours of sleep. When you see in between, you see sport, which means it's basically every candidate mandately, for sure, 1 hour every day has to do workout without missing, because because we don't get to go outside or sun or anything, our cardiovascular system should be active and working. So that's why anywhere, whether it's real mission or analog astronaut mission, sports is must and should. So, and for everyone on a daily basis. Okay, so this is schedule briefly looks like. And how, when I say mission test, I just wanted to quickly take you through the different tests that happen. So I am giving you my own example how my tests were used to happen in the mission. We wake up, and the moment we wake up, the first thing we do is our urine test will happen. So um, you cannot just go to, how we live our life on a daily routine in our homes. We don't necessarily directly go to the bathroom, use a bathroom. It cannot happen like that. So there is a protocol and procedures, everything you do in the mission. Your day starts with urine test. So there'll be different your own tools and things which you collect your sample of the urine and test it, check, and data officer who is there in the crew will be always constantly making sure all the data being put together. And then once your urine test is done, we will be having our morning briefings. So every day, twice, which is morning after wake up, and then, well, technically it's not morning, but whenever we wake up, we have morning briefing, which means MCC comes on contact with communications officer. When I say MCC coordinate with us, doesn't mean that they call us or they talk to us. It only happens on a chat. So only the communication officer in our crew will be having access to talk to the MCC. So MCC communicates with communications officer, and communications officer communicates with the crew. So that's how it happens, the chain of a command or anything. So once the urine test happens, we have morning briefings, which means today what we have to do, what kind of research we have to do, what is our schedule is going to be, such things will be shared. And then circadian cycles are the cycles where, because we are going to be in the absence of sun for a certain number of days, and we all know that we naturally, irrespective of what country you belongs to, all our bodies have a natural biological clock with respect to the sun, what we call circadian rhythms. So those circadian rhythms also taken care, data will be taken, because in the absence of sun, how your biological clock is varying, which is important, especially when we are doing interplanetary missions or long-term space duration missions. It's important to us to know how circadian rhythms, body clocks varies. When it comes to bioimpedance, it means basically there will be certain small amount of voltage current will be sent to our body, so that the different data it gives. It's basically a tool. You have to stand and hold on the tool, and then it passes certain amount of low voltage of current, very negligible. And then your body lean mass, your bone mass, your skeletal mass, and your water percentage, and your calories intake of that particular day, and then your biological age, because there is always difference between your original age and there is a biological age. The biological age will be differing from along with respect to your BMI, body mass index. So bioimpedance is one of the important tests for us to know how our physiology is changing day by day. Especially on a long-term missions, this particular test will be very useful to understand crew performance. Again, glucose, we all know. So with respect to the diet, we have very restrictive diet we will have. I'll share further slides. So with respect to diet, before the breakfast and after breakfast, how our glucose levels will be monitored constantly. STP is one of the interesting tests. It's a psychological test. It's called subjective time perception. So with respect to certain thing which is being shown to you on a screen, how you are perceiving time is something it tests. How accurately you are able to perceive the time is something it tests us. Chimp is basically chimpanzee. We all know that after human, many of the psychological and many of the IQ-based tests are happening on chimpanzee apes, because we share more genetic closeness information. So What happens is basically there'll be a reaction based test. So how fastly you are reacting to something in a test will be taken as a data. So that's called chimp test. Half experiment is something related to the meditation and guided meditation. Celia test is again a psychological based survey. Power naps is something on a daily basis. Every analog astronaut candidate or any candidate who is in the isolation confinement has to take 27 minutes of power nap. It's basically it helps, and even in our daily life nap, it is called power nap because it actually gives power, that instant energy. I'm just quickly going through the new terms only, not the repetitive terms. Space Dragon test is something, it's like a group test where all the candidates come together and share their own feelings by drawing their own feelings instead of talking, or instead of writing an essay. We draw our feelings. When I say daily reports, it's like, okay, today I've done this research, or today did this happened, or today this didn't happen. All those reports will be constantly you have to write. So when you are in the mission, your schedule will be too tight, too packed. Every minute, every second will be calculated. There is no time to get relaxed, literally. So that's why these missions can be very exhausting and very overwhelming sometimes. Francesco experiment is interesting again, because Francesco experiment, it's a AI based test, artificial intelligence based test. It actually, depending upon the answers we give, how much stress we are going through, it gives the answer. And yeah, so basically how much we are waste we are producing on a daily basis, organic waste, or non-organic waste, chemical waste, while we are in the mission. So those reports also will be monitored. So basically, this these all things includes a day for us. And imagine, this is the mission routine. As I told you already before, any mission for you, one side is mission routine, another side is your own goals. When you want to work on something goal, that goal also you'll work in the your own schedule. So I'm going to previous slide where I said here experiment, experiment, experiment. So this is the time where you will work the mission schedule as well as your own experiment, depending upon whether your psychological test, engineering based goal, biology based goal, different payloads experiments. So both you have to manage. Okay, so that's how it happens. But to be very honest, when I was in the mission last time, that was my first mission. I 90, though I had my own scientific goals to work on very preliminary basic goals, but though I had, but most of the time gone into the get into the routine of the mission itself, because though we planned so much before going to mission, the moment you enter into the isolation chamber, everything changes. So it's always important to stay closer to the reality. It's good to have expectations, but it's also important to be closer to the reality of the mission. So these are few photographs from our isolation modules, different modules. Because I was a crew biologist officer, one of my role, other than my goals, one of my role was to maintain the aquaponics, which is there inside the habitat. So for the people who don't know aquaponics, it's a way of growing plants where there'll be continuous water. So basically without soil, only what with providing nutrient based water, plants will be grown. Mostly what we try to do is we try to grow greens, like lettuce, or any greens, salads, which we can consume on a daily basis, on a freshly produced. So that we try to do it. I try to do it. And I also need to, one of my responsibility also have to maintain the organic waste which being produced. So when the soil, what you see in this photograph, it's actually not soil, but it's the leftover organic waste from the previous mission. So whoever comes to the mission, to the habitat, and then they leave organic waste, it doesn't go anywhere out. It will be there, and it will be properly maintained. And using the same material we have to grow, or we have to use for the plant-based or botany-based studies while we are in the isolation. In the left image, you see there is a ultrasound mission. So depending upon our daily schedule, diet restrictions and isolation, sometimes mission control center ask us to take the ultrasound graphs, ultrasound scans of gut movements with respect to the diet restrictions. So how gut movements are there before eating and after eating on a time-based intervals. So we also have that, and the extreme right image is it's a biological because every habitat has different modules: chemical lab, bio lab, geo lab, engineering workshop area, all these things. So that's a basically bio lab area where you find where you see microscopes, chemicals, and everything. And I'm in the further slide. I'm just briefly going to share the isolation what test I worked previously in my mission. So as I said, it was my first mission. I just wanted to basically understand few base fundamental parameter. So these are the graphs of glucose levels, normal glucose level before breakfast, normal glucose level after breakfast, glucose level during the mission, glucose level after breakfast during the mission. So it's basically you see this is the data which being taken out from my mission, and I've tried to interpret this data. One interesting thing I would pick up from this slide is lipid profile. If you see left side down, so the blue line is something. So one thing what I follow is also is every time I go on a mission, I always try to record. I mean, I always try to go for medical examinations before going to the mission. In a simple note, I go to a hospital and get all my body parameters done so that I have data. Same test I will go through after the mission also for whatever changes I need to observe, because my major area is understanding different physiological parameters with respect to the isolation and confinement. So that's what I try to do. And yeah, as I told before, one example I kept here in the slide. So this is how Francesco experiment result will be. Again, Francesco experiment is an experiment in the isolation. It's an AI based test. So there will be a questions, and then depending upon your answer, it gives a graph, it gives a result of what you are exactly in terms of stress. So this is one day, I don't know, during my mission days. So there was this one day result I captured and kept. So if you see blue graph is high, that means I was joyful. So yeah, so that's how it detects. There is little amount of sadness, there is a fear. So this is how a result will come out. And you remember, if you remember, I told chimp test. So it's basically how fast you are. It's a computer based test. So how fast you're responding to a command by observing the screen. So that's how this test happens. What you see on the screen is ms is millisecond. Okay, 1,000 milliseconds is equals to 1 second. Just for your information. So that means 330. So in a reaction based test, my one of initial days 332 milliseconds I took to react and respond. But out of all the mission, my fastest record, I actually held this record of able to do the test around 76 milliseconds. So these are the graphs for you to understand. So this has been taken from the Google itself, reaction time statistics. So if you see, most of the average users of this test will fall under between, sorry, I'm not able to. Yeah, between 125 milliseconds to almost 350 milliseconds. But if you see this, this is where I fall. So right side arrow, around 240. When I say average, that means every day results I did an average, and that's where I fall. But my fastest record was 76 milliseconds one day. This is basically about the chimp test, because with respect to isolation and confinement, they also test our frequently how candid, how fastly responding to any of the given command, whether it's computer based or human based. As I said, glucose and urine test also will be done. So these are few gadgets, missions which are there in the habitat and screened on a daily basis. So urine test gives us all the data. If there are any traces of blood, pH change, protein traces, with respect to the isolation and with respect to the diet restrictions, it is very important to monitor our urine on a daily basis. So this is example of data how it gives us. And yeah, coming to diet, our diet is very much restricted. So most of our diet, let's say out of 100%, 90% of diet will be boiled, raw food, which means what do you call meat, canned meat, uh, uh, salads, greens, and then around 10% food will be boiled based. So there is no such concept of cooking food, because in any mission, even in the ISS, you don't have time to cook. That the food will be in such a way that it doesn't require time. It is not time consuming thing. Celiac diet is something our mission specific, because depending upon the crew's condition, nutritional requirements, every mission has a different diet. So this our mission was celiac diet. When I say celiac diet, it means the food is mostly gluten free. Okay, so that was the case. Uh, Supriya Garu, I just want you to quickly confirm if you are able to listen the audio.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So,
Audible.
Yeah. So, guys, I'm just quickly showing you our habitat, how inside it looks like. So, this is my crew. So, I'll later explain who are these people. But yeah, these are all my crew members. Okay, my first mission crew members. So, this is how mission inside looks like habitat.
In here, we spent 7 days with 6 crew members and basically trying to live as an astronaut would live. And as you can see, today is our last day, and this was the amount of water that we had per person per day, and this is the amount of trash that we produced.
So guys, I'll be pausing in between because I need to explain these things quickly. So drinking water and utilizing water also will be calculated and given. It's not like you have resources and because you're on Earth, you have free water, more water. No, it doesn't happen like that. Even though you are in analog astronaut missions, your water intake also will be very strictly monitored. So on a daily basis, you will be given water quantity. So in our case, it was 3 liters for drinking per day and then 5 liters per using it. So how well and how strategically you use and save water is up to us. Yeah.
Here in the habitat, we had plenty of facilities in terms of labs. So we had a 3D printer, we had some telescopes and chemicals for the people that deal with it. Here there was things in relation to aquaponics and for the bio crew members. In this area, it was our gym. Actually, we're still cleaning up. In this area, it was our gym. In here, each crew member had about an hour a day to exercise and do whatever they wanted. I personally think this space was quite small. Here was our bathroom, and to be honest, it was one of my favorite rooms of the habitat. It was very, very fresh and cool and quite decent size. And then follow me to the living room, which is not the living room. It is the mesa. Actually, here is a room in which is pretty much very multifunctional. You have kitchen, this table, we ate, we worked, we did a lot of things. Over there, there's like the memory wall with all the patches from previous missions, and there's also a museum part in which people from past missions could leave a message from us, and we could do the same for them as well. Over there, there's the workshop area. In here, there's like a clean lab and some equipments, medical equipments. One thing to note about this habitat that I really liked is every once in a while you see some nice posters like this, and I think that this helped on kind of framing some windows when we did not have windows. In here we store the food. Guys, I'm putting the light on quickly. 1, 2, 3, go. Here is the crew quarters, and basically we slept here. We could also work here if we wanted to. Basically bunk beds and privacy screens, and that's it. Good.
Yeah, so that's what the habitat briefly looks like. And
I was just
When I was also part of after I came back outside of the isolation, I also did one small flight simulation where we will be logged in a pod, and then it simulates launching from the Earth, docking the ISS, International Space Station, going into ISS virtually, and then landing back on the Earth, what we call splashdown. So I'm just a small video how the pod looks like. So inside the pod, candidates will be there. So yeah, that's the thing, and so that's briefly about my mission and what I did and things. So how analog astronaut generally mission looks like. And again, I've given you some generic data, and I also given you some specific data, which is very specific to my mission and my participation. So my upcoming mission is actually March 13th. Tomorrow I'll be leaving from India. So my upcoming mission again in Poland, but with a different company called Lunares Research Station. So this is going to be much more longer isolation. So it is going to be 18 days this time. And then this time I'm also going through human centrifuge. Basically, it's a dynamic flight simulator where it simulates the G's. When I say G forces and spatial disorientation. So when you are moving away from Earth, we go through a lot of G forces. So to mimic that, there is a centrifuge. Generally, astronauts and pilots who drives high jets, they go through these training. And other than that, this mission particularly, I'll be majorly concentrating on cortisol hormone-based studies and how microbiome in the gut changes with respect to the isolation. So these are the few studies which I'll be concentrating on my further mission. So this slide is just talking about my upcoming mission and things. And I just want to sum up with my university and my program right now, because what Supriya Garu also told that as per the UGC guidelines in India, 2023 is the year where for the first time officially Masters in Astrobiology and Space Science has been launched academically, and from Amity Center of Excellence in Astrobiology, Amity University, Mumbai. Right now, there are 9 students with a diverse background. We have a candidate with engineering background, medicine background, physics background, geology background, biotechnology background. So it's like any other course, 2 years of master's course. Basically, this course concentrates on much more perspectives on astrobiology, though we have astrophysics and astrochemistry from long time, and especially with the future of more sample return missions and more manned missions, understanding biology of space exploration and things, which is something this course concentrates on. And basically this course, irrespective of what your bachelor's background is, it sort of builds that bridge to enter into the domain of space and domain of space exploration, especially through the lens of astrobiology. So right now it's completely active, and then yeah, for the more program details and things, you can always reach out to me, reach out to website. Yeah, it's everything there. But with respect to the missions and analog astronaut missions, that was the information I wanted to share with you all today. So I am really sorry that I have taken the more time, which I was not supposed to take more. But Supriya Garu, I want to close on this note. And thank you so much for being really patient so far, everyone.
Thank you, Mohan Garu. We are looking forward for more information from your next project. So kindly discuss us after coming back.
Sure.
Give more updates.
Sure.
Okay, we are we can take questions now. Okay, Venkat is ready with question. Okay, Venkat, you can go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, Venkat.
Okay, so great presentation. It was really great hearing from you, and also learning about analog or role play missions, how to simulate rockets going to space, and also people living there. So I think that's an important aspect that will help us make systems and train astronauts as well. So it was a wonderful presentation. You could do.
Thank you, Venkat.
Thank, thank you for being active to allow me to interact with you. Thank you, Srinath sir, for introducing me, and let us begin with the questions. Firstly, how can one bridge the gap from being an analog astronaut turning into a
Venkat, can you just be little loud with respect to your question? Yeah.
is better?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, how do you bridge the gap between an analog astronaut turning into a real astronaut that will go into space?
Good question, Venkat. One important thing we all need to remember is not every analog astronaut is an astronaut. And for astronaut, it's not a mandate quality to be an analog astronaut. Okay, that is something we all need to remember. Right now, with the demand of human spaceflight programs, these analog astronaut missions provides us a scientific platform and I would say more closure platform which mimics certain conditions. So it's not 100% accurate, and again, it's not completely mandate. But for us to scientifically grow and for us to understand our own selves, because it is going to be, it's not any robot, it's not any technology, but it's you or it's us is going to be as a subject in the mission. So for many factors comes into place. But answering your question, the major difference would be going through gravity, microgravity sessions, zero gravity sessions, and also some especially technicalities of flight time, flight hours, piloting the flight. So these factors especially differentiate you. I think Srinath sir is also raising hand. Sir, yeah, if you want to say anything, add in.
Thank you for answering your question. So basically, this is just privately funded to build new technologies as well as train astronauts.
Yes, it also helps us for our own goals. Let's say instead of being your goal on a paper or in the form of abstract, you can actually work on your goal, whether it's biology based or physics based or technological based. Yeah.
Talking to you. Thank you for answering.
No problem, Ankit. Srinath sir, you raised your
I
hand.
don't have anything to add to it, but I have a question that you have shown the map of places where similar analog astronaut
Sir,
locations are there. If you
sir,
wish to do it in India, which are
sir.
the potential sites which can be of similar either by Indians or by even other agencies, whether any such areas are there in India, within India? Just you can throw a light on it.
Sure, sir. Thanks for the question. I think as far as my knowledge, because that's also one of the interesting area I'm trying to build expertise on. Because when we see India as a geographic landforms and terrains, the diversity in the India, we do have such sites. On a reality note, we have one of the perfect good site we have in Run of Kutch, Gujarat. And we also have we can also have a site in Himalayas where the Arctic conditions can be mimicked, polar conditions, and also within the different localities of Ladakh, Leh, Ladakh, where many hot springs are there, many valleys are there, especially in the context of understanding more extremophiles based studies and more astrobiology based studies, where you also maintain the subject knowledge, field knowledge of geology and astrobiology. So such way, we do have good sites in India too, sir. So
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Any more questions?
Supriya, in chat box, some questions are there. You can. Supriya, chat box are
Yes,
there
sir.
some
Yes,
questions.
sir. I'm just opening it.
Supriya Garu, I can actually read out and quickly
Yes,
share.
yes. Go ahead, sir. No issue.
Yeah. Afifa Muhammad, thanks
How
for
we
the question. How we should join it? Yeah, there is always, I mean, their own websites, or if you want, I will again, before closing the call officially, I will again put up the slide of my contact information and email. So you can always reach out to me. I'll guide through the selection process and application process. But otherwise, it's a public domain. So you all can find in the web, I mean, Google different websites, sorry, in their own websites. But the following you have asked, if someone has any injury, we will select for the mission. I think you meant to ask if you have any injury. So it depends upon what kind of injury. Because very interesting thing is this: the upcoming mission which I'm going to be part of, Lunar Research Station, that is one of the world's first analog astronaut site, which also onboards the para analog astronaut missions. I mean, even though there are physically, physically challenging candidates who are still into the analog astronaut studies, they can also be part of these missions. So it's a one of its first kind. So again, coming back to your question, depending upon what kind of injury and how deep it is, allowing your physical performance or not, and mental ability or not, it depends. But otherwise, if it is a minor injury, it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah. Next, from again, I think Venkatraman, you have asked another one. Is it like a solitary confinement? Well, if you, it's up to you. How do you call it? But it's definitely not solitary confinement, because I would say solitary confinement is not just the physical confinement, but it also comes with a lot of mental things you go through, well-being and things. But it is, yes, it's a confinement. I would still call it, but it's a scientific confinement, I would say, because you are completely stuck with a daily routine, a mission routine, your own goals, responsibility. You will be also curious to implement certain of your goals and waiting to get to see your results. So I think, yeah.
More like
Dr. AG,
confinement,
yeah,
more like
you're
confinement, but with other
sorry, Venkat.
etc.
Sorry, voice is
louder, Venkat.
More like confinement, but you have other people with you to attend.
No,
not audible. Sorry.
maybe his call.
No, it's more of solitary confinement, but other people will be having observation on you. That's what if I understand correctly.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, yeah, there'll be always a team which I said monitor for whatever the reasons. See, one of the main reason there is a mission control center. Also, they also mimic and prepare us the kind of communication receiving and exchanging between them and us. They also help us, because if it is a lunar based mission, even though they are online, watching us on online, they don't necessarily respond immediately. They still maintain the time gap between the earth and moon, or if it is another body. So that also they make sure. So let's say you are in an emergency and you need MCC attention, you cannot expect them to be, because let's say tomorrow you are on a planet, let's say Mars, you can't expect them to be immediately reactive. You also need to have your own plan to execute. So that also preparation happens with MCC, which is very interesting again. But thanks, Venkatraman. Next, Dr. A.G. Kulkarni. Good afternoon, sir. Pretty much looks like, okay. Sir is just commenting. Hafifa Muhammad, again, which sports are played by you? Basically, when I say sport, it's a physical workout. So we will, most of the what you have also seen in the video is they mostly concentrate on our cardiovascular system. So it's like treadmill, cycling, basically legs and heart blood circulation is something they concentrate on. And next question, Venkatraman again. So if the circadian system is suddenly changed, it causes jet lag. Sorry, what do you mean? Can you take me through your question, Venkatraman, or it's you?
I really don't know to answer that. I got it presentation.
So you got the answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Then
Uh,
Baswara, yes, someone, yes, you can go ahead.
Sorry for stopping, Amit. Here is Prabhanjan. Will you, I would like to ask a question.
Hello, sorry, your voice is breaking down.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, it's
Okay.
good.
Sorry for stopping you. If you allow me, I just ask a quick question.
Please, please, please.
Okay. I was missing some of the session. I was last minute discussion. I was joined. I'm missing some points. I just I hear that you're involving the scientific research, particularly in this of astronomy. Could you share more about your work and what specific aspects of your astronomy you find most fascinating? What you do?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Let me just rephrase. I mean, my interest comes under astrobiology because astronomy is again a complete different domain. So, but with respect to analog astronaut missions, my area which I'm always trying to work on is how isolation and confinement varies human body functions, physiological functions. So that these are my major studies. So I work on gut biome studies. I work on hormones differences. I work on glucose levels. So basically, different physiological parameters changes, and then how they are changed with respect to the isolation days, with respect to the external mission, with respect to the training I'm going through. So I major on an overall note, I work on human physiology in analog astronaut missions. So hope that answers your question. If yes, I'll go forward.
Okay, which means when the human is inside a rocket, do you able to measurement of the stress health, or what you do? Like I understood.
Yeah, so certain physical physiological parameters needs to be taken, the biological samples like saliva, in sometimes when it comes to gut biome, you are taking a sample of stool. So depending upon the various parameters, and also depending upon the different intervals of taking the sample, I try to do studies, and it's a chained studies. It's not one particular time studies. It's like previous mission, how the parameters are during the mission, how the parameters are after the mission, how the parameters are. If I'm going through human centrifuge such of training, how such time such parameters are. So it's my studies mostly are comparative studies of different physiological functions of the body. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all. I wish you good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. I don't know where we are.
Venkat question, I think. Last question.
Venkat, I think that is.
We finished his question.
Yes.
Panindra, you can take Panindra question.
What is the requirement for a person with eyeglasses to be? Fanindra, thanks for the question. I think as of today, it is not a deciding factor. You can be as normal as you in your daily life. You can be also an analog astronaut. That doesn't that actually will not stop you being part of analog astronaut missions. And there is no specific requirements. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have seen in the video I've shown, one of my crew candidate also have glasses, so not an issue. But thanks for checking. Important question. Then okay, there is one Akula Srinivas. First mission, second mission. What is the difference? There are many differences. First, basic differences are first mission I was there only 8 nights and 9 days of isolation. This time it is going to be around 18 days, 18 nights and 19 days of isolation. So such things are there. So different conditions, different location, different objectives. Again, different group because everything is different. But thanks for the question. And what are the physical requirements to apply? Jayabrata Pal. Okay, thanks for the question. I think there is no such standard.
Continuity is there, like what is the minimum height, weight
Correct.
required?
Yes, Speaker. So, I mean, yeah, as of now, see, analog astronaut, that's why these missions are important. The real missions which stops you at a point, let's say at the height or at the weight, these analog astronaut missions don't do such things. It's a free platform for all of us to study more scientific approaches and crossing many more barricades. Imagine, even though anyone physically challenging person also can be part of missions. Such diversified missions. These are such a way they have been designed. So yeah, it's not really mandate thing to have a specific physical requirements. What if a person gets severe problem in between mission? Does every subject is important for this and all missions? Okay. From Afifa Mohammed again. What if a person gets severe problem in between these missions? Good question. So before going into mission, when we go to, let's say, last time my mission happened in Poland. So it's you go to Poland and you directly don't go to Habitat. Inside Habitat, there will be 1 to 2 days of 40 to 72 hours of time gap, what we called before mission. There will be certain medical examinations, there will be certain trainings, there will be certain do's and don'ts. All these things they'll take us through because we are going to be on our own when we are inside. So during that time, one particular segment will be emergency schedule. Emergency simulations. Around 60 kinds of emergency simulations will be. So depending upon what kind of emergency you're facing in the isolation time, how you should respond, how you should react, how you should conduct, there will be a complete protocol and manual. So we have to go through it, we have to read it, and accordingly we have to act it. So depending upon your severity of the problem, if the severity requires immediate attention, then there will be always a emergency contact numbers during which the mission will be terminated. So such things also can happen. But yeah, as a commander will be taking the decision how severe the emergency is and what should be the action to be taken. I'm skipping few questions which I might have answered already, but how do they, from Pranav Shettar, how do they select these type of astronaut? See, it's all about your interest, first of all. How you are able to have a bigger picture of you being in the as a human spaceflight program, as part of human spaceflight program, and how you are able to break your vision into different goals right now at whatever your level are. Understanding theoretically or understanding practically, working on more experiments. So accordingly, you carry out. It's not that there is a particular methodology or there is a particular way you need to conduct yourself to get astronaut. Though there are, but as of now, with the advancements and with the studies that happens on such missions, basically, I would say it's a good. It's all good platforms for us to explore more scientifically. So yeah, I would say that.
Sir, I
And
have another question.
Pranav, yes, Pranav, go ahead.
Sir, is the analog astronaut fit to be a real astronaut?
Yeah, so
Like,
as I said,
is he
yes,
fit
go on.
to go to space?
Sorry?
Is he fit to go to the space?
Yeah. So Pranav, I'm repeating again, not every analog astronaut meant to be real astronaut. But these missions, these analog astronaut missions are majorly for us to understand what are our limits, physiological limits, body limits, psychological limits. Are we busting out? Are we losing our control? Anger management, because these are isolation and everything. So for us to test scientifically or how we are conducting as a self individuals, all these things you understand about your own self, and accordingly you will be able to get an idea of how fit you are, and then accordingly you try for the more realistic things and more closer things to be the real astronaut. So but I would say, though you are an analog astronaut, let's take an example, an analog astronaut going into real astronaut, he or she, they will still go through the standard operating protocols of a real astronaut. It doesn't mean that because you are an analog astronaut, certain trainings will be skipped. No, everything will be same. But it's just that for us to understand more about our own self, both physically and psychologically, it helps. So yeah,
Thank you, sir.
no problem.
Last question, I think. One in chat box. We can end up with this.
Fifa Mohammed, can you be little more specific? What do you mean? What products we get after these analog missions? Do you mean to ask what benefits, or can you be more specific?
You can unmute and ask directly. What benefits we get?
See, again, if you're having a theory which you want to propose for the research and everything, these platforms are like labs for you, basically, to experiment on, whether on self, whether on technology, whether on anything which can come under future in the brackets of space exploration and studies. So that way, there are many benefits. So yeah, there are many benefits. It's like a testing platform for us. So, yeah.
Okay.
I think we are good.
We are running out of the
Yes,
time.
yes.
Yes, we can
Okay.
here. If any queries, you can text in creative group or personally. We try to answer these questions.
Yes. Before closing the call, Supriya, sorry for quickly. I'm sharing my email address and contact information for anyone to personally reach out to me for any of the further coordination and things. So please make a note. You can continue, Supriya.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mohan Sai, for your enlightening contribution and dedication to sharing knowledge as we explore topic ranging from analog astronaut missions to cutting-edge scientific advancements. Your presence has truly enriched our creative weekend talk. Best wishes for your future project, and we look forward to your continued success in inspiring others through your work. Thank you for accepting us.
Thank you, Supriya. I think thank you, you and Creactive and Srinath sir for coordinating, taking up so much one-on-one time, making sure that this session being useful to many of the people who are, especially when the such research kind is more of demanding. I think running this session, making sure I'm being part of this talk. Thank you for coordinating and making sure people are from different domains joining this. And yeah, hopefully I get to talk to more sessions in this platform with more new updates and new studies. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
contact details are in chat box. Please check it once. I'll wait for 2 minutes so that you can copy email ID and phone number.
Thank you, sir. It was hearing.
Thank you, Venkat. So yeah, I think we are good to go.
And
Supriya, your wish whenever you are closing the call.
yes. Okay, we are